All right, guys, it's been a little minute since we did one of these, but we got the Pocket Change Market Report for July 13th, 2024. So, this is kind of like we're in the heat of the middle of the summertime. I know a lot of people are probably not hunting through coin, from your bank. But at the same time, I'm going to say that, probably not a bad time to do that, as coin is a little bit more accessible now. The only exception is there's certain 2024 coins that aren't really out there too much, nickels and dimes especially. But if you're looking for Lincoln cents and quarters, I'm happy to say that, for the most part, those particular two denominations are out there for the taking. And even half dollars above all else, are being found in bank boxes. So for you half-dollar roll hunters out there, you know who you are. You're probably coming across your fair share of 2024s and some from the last few years as well. So the market is very robust, top to bottom. Out of the 25, 26 listings that we're going to talk about today, about 25% of them are wholly comprised of what I consider to be more higher end chase pieces. All ungraded, of course. That's what we talk about. We just talk about stuff that you could find and then flip on eBay. Grading, not necessary. I would say 99% of most cases, not even worthwhile, as you will command the full market as long as you have something legitimate, whether it's a die variety or a mid air, and you know what you have and you know the verbiage that goes along with it, because it's going to make all the difference in the world when you go to list these on the platform. All right, so we don't talk about graded coins, and all of the original photos you're going to see here are 100% original to the seller's listings. We didn't juice or doctor any of these to make them look better. So you're in reality going to get a full 100% view of the different types of photography that people are using. Oftentimes, a lot of people are using their smartphones to capture the images. So you're going to get a little photography lesson, if nothing else, on a few of the items listed today. So I want to thank you guys for tuning on in. We're going to look at about the last 24 hours of activity. It was quite busy actually, for a time of year where some would say it's a little bit kind of on the vacationy side of things. People aren't really doing this stuff, nor are they investing or buying into these collectibles. It just doesn't seem to be the case. All right, so we have actually a very busy show schedule on Whatnot this week. One of the big things, Vaultbox, the Funbox release is this week on July 17th. I'm going to say if you are at all interested in obtaining a Funbox, and I'll explain what a Funbox is, you're better off trying to buy it off the website. The MSRP is $165. It's a lot less expensive compared to all the other Vaultbox releases. I hear the big Chase coin, a insane trade dollar, is a $5,000 piece that you could find in these vault boxes. So what the Fun Box is, it's a lower cost rip of sorts, that goes in between two of their bigger releases. So we have Series 8, I would imagine, coming up here in the next month or two. So the Fun Box is a quick to market release. It's low value, as far as trying to obtain one. What I probably won't recommend is trying to buy one on a secondary platform like eBay or whatnot. Now, I will have some available on the platform Whatnot, not for MSRP. It's whatever it goes for. It could go for less, it could go for more, whatever the case may be, but it's going to be a fun time. I'm allocated about 20 of these packs to rip open on release day, which is going to be this Thursday. So I will be on this Thursday. We also have two other shows. We have our normal Tuesday show and our Friday show. Tuesdays are normally reserved for our budget, kind of like, you know, if your wallet is getting a little empty, but you want to get a little bit of your fix of numismatics and bullion and currency and everything else, more than likely we're gonna have what you need. All right, so that's pretty cool. And then Friday is our general all-purpose show. We're calling this Friday show the Coin and Currency Heatwave Auction. But in any event, if you're looking to join in, I mean, it could be any more simpler. It's my platform I use to do sales, something that I've always wanted to do, and they are quite reliable, and it's a lot of fun. If you want to join up, I have my referral link down below in the description box. You'll receive $15 right off the rip that you could save yourself money on that piece of silver. You could get yourself a free coin or two. All you have to do is pay for shipping. And it's a lot of fun. And not only that, you could use it on just about anything that the platform sells: comic books, high-end purses and watches, and all sorts of cool other things as well. Okay. Ooh, I'm all choked up. Let's go ahead and join in to the coins here from this weekend. Starting things off, we have an 1864 Shield 2 cent piece. This is actually a really nice high grade example. Probably XF. I mean, you do have a full motto, "In God We Trust." It is the large letters type. But the reason why that this one was even sent on to eBay in the first place was a routine cut die break that is showing up on the reverse. Now, the "In God We Trust" little symbol you see there on the bottom left, that's actually the seller on eBay. And they generally have some pretty nice things. The photography is just lights out. They do a great job here. So on this one, we do have that die crack that goes from one part of the rim, goes into the design. You more than likely you want to see some displacement in order for it to be a true, genuine pre-cut. And then another exit crack that goes into the rim. $59.74 was the sell price. I'm willing to bet that it would have sold for about this much with or without the retained cut. So overall, just a really nice type coin with a little honest wear, but doesn't hurt at all to try and promote this on eBay to see if you could squeeze a little bit more extra money out of a coin that already looks great. And we all come across these quite often, but here's a little bit of a market update on the wide AM Lincoln cents. Now you can find these from 98 to 2000. The 99 being kind of the exception to the rule because it's the more scarcer of the three dates and it commands a lot more money. But how about some of the more common ones like the 98 or 2000? Well, we have one right here. These were inadvertently struck with proof reverse dies, which was never supposed to take place. Now, on these, you're going to notice that there's a pretty big gap between the A and M in America, and that's what you're going to look for here. All of the regular struck examples will have the A and M pretty much touching at the base. So this one right here sold for $14.31. The coin is in not too bad a shape, although I have seen some that are in much better condition overall. So yeah, I mean, they're still right around $10-15 if you're looking to sell in this kind of grade state. If they're worse off, expect to get less than that. All right, so there was a fair amount of currency this week, a lot of paper money errors. It's just amazing to me how many of these have gone ungraded. Take, for example, the 69C $20 FRN with an apparent and just grossly misaligned overprint here, just a major shift in the serial numbers and the district seals and things like that, all shifted to the right. This matters quite a bit to collectors. The wilder the shift, the more inclined that they're going to pay more money for these. When we look at the back, I think showing the reverse of the notes, even though a lot of the good stuff is on the front, will help kind of illustrate the overall condition of the note. Like, this is a premium piece here. From my eyes, it kind of looks like a high-end AU, if not a crispy uncirculated piece. So again, please do note this one is not graded, and it still ended up selling for $235.99 with 19 total bids. So this thing was organically bid up to that amount. What would it be if it was graded? Is anybody's guess. It could be as much as how much this one sold for, or a little bit more. There is that graded kind of premium effect that we just can't ignore. But overall, if you're looking to flip a note like this on the secondary market, And, grading, takes 4 to 6 weeks on average. I mean, if you don't have that kind of turn time to wait around for your note to come back from the grading service, just go ahead and sell it raw. People know what these things are. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no kind of, pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. If you know what you have and you term it correctly in your subject line, you will sell these pretty well. The next one that we have here, another really nice, what I call first blush back to front wet ink transfer. So much like I guess a clash die for coins. Okay, there is something similar for paper money. When there is no sheet in the printing area of a press, you will have a fully exposed or a partially exposed impression cylinder. That's the cylinder where the subject sheet lays on. And then you have all of your printing plates that come down to make their impression on the subject sheet. Now, when that sheet's not there or there's a fold over, the ink is going to transfer onto the impression cylinder. So when the next sheet is fed in and there's nothing wrong with it, it's gonna it's going to print whatever was on the impression cylinder to the opposite side of the note. And that's kind of what we have here. This one right here is a very bright and vivid green. You can tell it's a partial because it didn't do 100% of the transfer. And again, with these wet ink transfers, you want to make sure that the secondary image is in reverse. If it's not that, it's probably a fake. And I've seen a few of these where someone had haphazardly ink jetted over the note to give it the false appearance of a wet ink transfer. Those are pretty easy to spot. So this one right here sold for $354, which I would say for something like this is top of the mark. And I've also seen full 100% transfers that have sold for like $300 to $400. So this one, I guess you could say, did command a little bit extra in the market here this weekend, to a great effect. It's a really, really pretty note. And then there's the other side as well, just showing nothing out of the ordinary. The note is in pretty nice condition as well. Nice higher end piece with very little wear. All right, and then if you guys forgot, this coin does exist. It also exists on I believe, the 2018 Pictured Rocks National Park Hoarder. Very similar double to die obverse that you can find on both, and they're all designated as WDDO number one. And this is the second coin, the American Memorial Park in 2019, and they can only be found on Philadelphia Struck examples. Now, what are we looking at here? Look at the word "In God We Trust," and you're going to know exactly what you have. The moment you lay eyes on this, you're going to notice that all of the lettering is stretched out, and the mint mark as well, because the mint mark is designed into part of the working die. It's not punched in independently like it was prior to 1990. So yeah, look out for this. I have to confess and say that they're not worth $50, $60, $70 as they once were, but this one sold for $14.36, and that's still pretty good considering that it is a pretty well-worn, well-circulated example that we see here. Another piece of currency, and 1995 $5 FRN. Yeah, the green ink is definitely not showing up. It's showing a 76, very light. And what we have here, I believe, is an insufficient inking error. Just those little individual ink wells just ran out of green ink. It's really simple. And when that happens, it's not going to print that that aspect to these notes. Now, when we do look at these, we want to make sure we look at both sides of the note. What you notice here on this one is that the black on the overprint shows really great embossing, but we don't see any of where normally the serial numbers and the green seal would be. There's no embossing to speak of. So there was definitely something happening there with that printing plate. It could have affected the whole sheet. Maybe it's just a few notes. Really hard to say. This one looks good to my eyes. And it sold for $104.11. If there was some embossing and the green ink was totally gone, that could still be an insufficient ink, but I'd be more wary in knowing that it probably was chemically altered, although you'll see that on other parts of the note as well. So pretty cool, $104 piece here on this one. And we also have this one here. No readable date on this double struck Jefferson nickel. So all of this action occurred when the collar, which holds the coin in place during the striking process, was something that happened. All right, there was a malfunction of sorts. But the coin didn't eject properly after the first strike, so it stayed within the confines of that striking area, and it produced a secondary strike that is roughly 85-90% off center. All right, so pretty cool. It's too bad it doesn't have a readable date. That's where a lot of the value comes into play here on those. But $46.19, not too shabby. Considering it's great as well, this one has seen some circulation. Crazy as it seems, how anyone would spend this, a regular non-collector or a collector, is beyond me. This thing looks like it's passed through a few dozen hands. Another piece of currency, 1977 A $1 note, with again another grossly misaligned overprint. This thing's way over to the right. One of the strongest ones I've seen in quite a while, and because of that, this one had a pretty gigantic sale price at $499.95. It pretty much has to be this far misaligned for it to command that kind of wild money. Again, it's not graded, and the note is undeniably a crispy, uncirculated example. So again, this is a word to the wise. If it's not graded and you have a wild error like this one, you can't. It is still sellable for whatever the market commands, as if it was in a PMG or PCGS holder. And it's strange to me how much of these are showing up in the marketplace ungraded. And you could always tell the realistic, genuine examples compared to the counterfeits. They just have some attributes about them that are just like big giveaways. 37D, three-legged buffalo, again, due to an over-braided or over-polished die, is what caused the foreleg to be completely missing here. But you do see that raised kind of like what they call P line under the buffalo's belly, and again, a very weakly struck hind leg here. The coin appears to have been cleaned. It is a technical AU kind of details coin. It has kind of like a artificial kind of glossy surface to it, to suggest that maybe it was cleaned at one point. Which is unfortunate, but at the same time, it doesn't completely kill the value of one of the big chase-worthy coins in U.S. coinage. $807 sale here on this one, and that is par for the course. Really nice one here. This is what a well-centered, broad-struck Jefferson nickel looks like. It's a 1983 P. Again, that collar was completely gone or malfunctioned at this point. So when there's no collar to hold the coin in and it still strikes the coin, all of that extra metal flow goes outwards, thereby creating a coin that is probably about 10 to 15% much larger than what it's supposed to be. To give you an idea, here's the size comparison from the seller of this Jefferson nickel to a Washington quarter, and it is pretty close in size. That's how big it is. So this one here sold for $46.45, which is a really standard price for a centered broad strike. There are uncentered broad struck coins, but they're not nearly as desirable. And again, let's check out some foreign coins. World Coins produced just amazing results on the error kind of front of things. This one right here has a pretty nice retained cud on the front. It's a 1942 Costa Rica 10 centimos. As rough and as used as this coin is, there was some eagle-eyed collector that ended up going through some world coins and found this little gem in the rough. So world coins with an error, some of them are very valuable, but for the most part, they're not nearly as valuable as the U.S. coin counterparts of the same thing. So this one right here, a coin that you could probably cherry pick for about a quarter or less, ended up selling for $22. So if you guys are looking to cherry pick some coins to resell on eBay, give World Coins a try. It's my personal experience that a lot of these have sold for like 10 to 50 bucks, where, the entry price into ownership of a lot of these coins is well under $1 per piece. So this could represent just a huge boon for anyone that's looking to kickstart a new eBay store, just finding these coins out there at a coin shop. They have them in great big bins. They're asking like 10 cents a piece for the things. You can really have a field day here. Just make sure you bring your loop and just have fun. You'll know what you're looking for. Another piece of currency. And it's very, very few times that we talk about some of the new colorized notes. We just don't see as much stuff from the colorized notes as we did prior to 2004. 2017 $20 bill. A lot of people can easily miss this. If you look at the bottom right serial number set, you'll notice that the 2, the last digit, is turned a little bit on here. Now, to a lot of folks and a lot of people in the error paper money community, this is quite minor. It's also referred to as a gas pump digit, which is a term used very loosely on the secondary market. It is technically, by definition, a turn digit. Now, where these things get really expensive is when the digit has turned beyond halfway to where you can see the second number on that little dial that's shown up onto the note. So this one right here sold for $29. Profit wise, this person probably netted about $6 after fees and shipping and all that great stuff. Unfortunately, finding this type of minor error on a large denomination note, sometimes you might just have to spend it, because if you had $100 bill with the same error, I guarantee you're going to have a hard time getting exactly face value or higher for it, because it is a minor error and it's such a large denomination note. The entry to ownership is just tremendously huge. Uh, you know, VF type note here. It's got a centerfold and some soiling, a little staining on there on the left. Here's also another really nice 1946 Lincoln Wheat Cent Broadstruck error. The older we get on some of these coins, the more that they're worth. That it's just kind of one of the principles of collecting into errors. If you had a double struck coin, one that's dated, say, the year 2000 compared to one that's dated probably in the 40s or 50s, there's a pretty substantial price difference there. So this one right here, nice centered broad stroke. Again, we talked about how these things occur. There's a comparison to a regular Lincoln cent, quite a bit bigger. This one sold for $36.45. And there's been a lot of buy it now hits. That seems to be kind of like the thing to do over the summer, as we believe that, people will buy what they need. And if the price is justified and it's on par with the market, they will hit the buy it now button. But if you have it priced way too high, more than likely they're not going to touch it. They'll leave you scratching your head. At that point, if you're finding a tough kind of deal trying to sell these coins and you have them as buy it now type listings, reassess the market, because things change daily on eBay. What was once a $20 piece might be $15 the next day, or it might be $10 for whatever reason, and that could all be due to supply. Pretty neat one here. We take for granted our 90% constitutional, but 1943 Walking Liberty with a lamination defective planchet issue on the obverse there. You see the L in Liberty. It's kind of lifted up like a tab. Pretty cool. I mean, this is something that we generally don't pay attention to, especially again with 90%. We just buy it to hoard it for its silver content. So finding something like this, understand that there is a lot more value numismatically over the silver price. A coin that probably is worth about $10.50 in melt, sold for $36.45. I would say I would do that and sell it all day long, and then go out and buy more stuff that I could stack. You never know. Here's a 1996 $20 bill. This one has a gutter fold there on the left, which is caused by simply a wrinkle in the subject sheet. Probably affected a few notes, but if the wrinkle isn't stretched out, it'll print over, thereby creating a printless area where that wrinkle is. On the back, you do see that it does print fully, which means that the wrinkle was probably stretched out when the reverse was printed. The reverse is printed first, by the way. This one right here sold for $57 with two bits. Gutter folds on newer notes is not something that we see too often, but we do see them on the non-colorized big head notes like this one. Another minor error, but also keep in mind you should probably put these aside if they're attractive enough. 1944D Lincoln Wheat Cent. This one has an obverse lamination, also called a defective planchet. There you go. So that's your lamination. It is not a die crack. You could theoretically pull up that tab and rip off the entire lamination if you wanted to, whereas with a die crack, you can't do that. So this one right here, a routine lamination, and in a good spot too, with a nice big piece that goes through the date. Ended up selling for $19.99. And please do understand that laminations are typically on the lower end of the scale of mint errors. You're not going to get rich off them. They're great, what I call supplemental pieces. You could sell one for $5, $10. Again, really to depending on how dramatic they look will kind of depend on how much you get back in return. But I certainly wouldn't throw these back if you're looking to enhance and build your eBay presence. Even offering these on the cheap is a pretty good way to kind of offset things on your store. It's always good to have a little bit of variety. And a great variety here. This is a great repunch date that's been around for decades. 1894 over 1894. I believe this is Snow 1 as the attribution, but I believe it's also a great Cherry Picker's Guide variety as well. The coin is in not phenomenal shape. It's a really, I would say, just overall decent, good, grade condition coin. When we look up close, you're going to see the repunch of the 9 and 4 pretty clearly on these. Some would say that these are not really cherry pickable, but you would be surprised. Considering that it is a little bit lower mintage of a date. It's one of the more scarce dates of the later Indian Head Cent run from the 90s and early 1900s. So this one right here sold for $49.95. Again, coin that probably you could have bought unattributed for around $4 or $5. Will end up being a pretty good flip if you were able to cherry pick this. Silver certificate. Again, the paper money this week are just really powerhouse pieces. So this 1957B features probably one of the most desirable errors in a mismatched serial number. Check out the first digit on both sets there. You have a 3 and a 4. That's cool. I've actually found one of these on a silver certificate, pretty similar to this one, but that was like 20 years ago, back when they were only worth like 40, $50. Boy, times have changed. This one sold for $380. The market is just phenomenal for a lot of the big time higher end of the curve paper money errors. And this note is in decent shape too. I'd say, high end VF, XF type note. 1995 Lincoln Memorial Cent. We know what to find on here. The big doubled die obverse and a very common one at that. The FS 101. Check out, the motto "In God We Trust," Liberty as well. All of these things here are going to exhibit some pretty crazy doubling. It's one of the last of the breed of crazy doubled dies that you will come across on modern coins. So this one right here, a nice sale at $70.40. The seller had a number of these and sold like 3 or 4 of them over the last 24 hours for the same exact price. And yeah, we hadn't seen this one in a few weeks, but let's go ahead and do a market recap, I guess, of the 2023 Lincoln Shield Cent with the extra V. I know the graded pieces have been going down quite a bit. And Mid State 66 sold on Great Collections this past week for around $160. So they are no longer the big three, four, $500 coins unless it's a 67 or higher. These things have kind of fallen by the wayside on the graded end of things. This one right here is in really good shape, by the way. You can see that extra V notch there next to VDB is the namesake. $61 with 15 bids on this one. That is one of the more pricier examples I've seen in quite a while, but I haven't seen a whole lot of them pop up for sale here recently. I think, if one is pretty well circulated, they're not going to sell for nearly as much, maybe 15, $20, as more or less an oddity. So just want to let you guys know what the market is. This is just one example of a few that did sell, and this is one of the more higher priced ones. For you silver bug stackers out there, you guys might appreciate this one. This is actually an old vintage Canadian Engelhard poured bar. It's a 10 ouncer. By today's money, you're looking at about melt value of about $300 on this thing. It did not sell for melt. I can tell you that. Anything old kind of 1960s, 50s Canadian Engelhard era of any sort of poured loaf bar, man, these things are very higher, very desired. They're really neat too. So I know a lot of my silver and gold people will appreciate this sale that did pop up. Now it was sold as an error. I guess there was some sort of like stamping error on the reverse. Maybe you could see, some of the partial, I guess, pre-stamped stuff on the reverse if you looked hard enough. Yeah, but overall, I think they probably tried to stamp the reverse and then made a mistake and then used the actual bread loaf billowed out section of the bar, the top section of the bar, to do all of the stamping. So a pretty big sale, well above melt at $568.99, and that's with 28 bids. Someone really, really needed this. Actually, a few someone's really needed this one. The bidding was just incredible. And we've seen this before, but on the $20 bill, specifically the 96 series $20 Fed Reserve note. Yeah, it's missing the green seal on this $100 bill. It's a 99 series. I've seen a few of these before. Again, it's just a BEP error of sorts that it's been around for a while. It actually goes all the way up to 2004 on the $20 bills. I've seen a few of them myself. So this one right here sold for $227.50 with 8 bids. If you do come across these and it's missing that green seal right where the 100 is on the right side, you got one. Congratulations. That is a huge, huge score. There's an image of the back. Again, some circulation wear here, a fold in the center. I would say a VF30 type note. 1969C $5 FRN, and again, another grossly misaligned overprint. What else more do we need to say? These things are just hot off the cuff in the marketplace. This one here sold for $278.54, and that's with 17 bids on this one. So quite remarkable sale. Another nice one. It's always the same seller that had a number of these. I'm willing to bet that's after decades of hunting through paper money to find these. And this is a coin that I talked about a couple days ago. It actually sold. This is the 2024 P. Reverend Dr. Polly Murray quarter. It shows hope on there with a nice little motif of the her portrait and all that great stuff. But yeah, this one has that wild strike through on going through the ponytail and his neck, and it looks like a bunch of meteors just flying through the air. As of right now, this is the only one that's been found. They were asking $55 for it. I know one of my commenters put in a bid for $50, but it looks like it's sold for 55. I don't know if that's the case, but yeah, this was a sale just mere moments after I did that video a few days ago. I was about ready to pick it up myself, and then it was already gone by the time I, struck the button there. So yeah, pretty neat. Very nice one. You can actually see it on Washington's neck area as well. And as of right now, this is the only one that's been found. So this is a mint error that we used to see 2 years ago, the very first year of the American Women Quarters. So this is out there. Look for it. $55 sale. Congrats to the seller and the buyer. Yeah, we couldn't do one of these without at least one giant cud die break. 1982 large date copper. This huge cud. This is also probably the deal of the day. That the penny has seen some circulation wear, that's obvious. But cuds of this size usually command $50 to $100 very easily. This one ended up selling for $47.50. So it was toward this low end of the spectrum, but you could have very easily sold for like 70, $80. And the final coin, my God, why isn't this thing in a graded holder? Someone somewhere found a triple struck Pennsylvania state quarter. I really don't know what else to say. I mean, all the other specimens I've seen, with exception of like one other, which was a double struck state quarter, was raw. And that was, I don't know how long ago that was, probably 3, 4 years ago. And then this monster showed up. It sold about an hour ago. So this is like the most recent sale on the list of coins. $769 with 8 bids. Again, this is an issue that occurs. It had one full strike because it does have reading on there. But the other 2 strikes happened outside the collar. So the collar messed up, malfunctioned, whatever, and produced a work of art like you see here. This is it's a haunt my dreams for probably the next few days. Not saying that I could afford this one. It would have been cool to own something like this because typically you see these graded and they sell for $2, $3, $4,000. This one, if it was sold during like the fall holiday season, probably would have commanded $1,000 plus. Again, the high end super atomic errors like this, because of the time of year we're in, they don't command the top of the market sometimes. And this person ended up with a true gem, for a pretty good deal. All right, that's it, guys. Information provided in this video is for educational use only, not financial advice. Please do collect and or grade responsibly as always. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Thank you guys again for tuning in. As always, like, share, and subscribe to the video if you enjoy the stuff for today. And come check me out on Whatnot. Again, I'll be on 3 times this week. Just a power-packed kind of week of activity on the platform. And if not for nothing, just come by and say hi and let's talk shop. It's a great place to confer at. And that's it. You guys are awesome. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you later.